Hello everyone. In this guide, I will talk about the the weapons, armors, and the accessories. I will teach you guys how to select the right ones, and I will also provide some recommendations. Without further ado, let's get started. Let's understand some basics first. There are 7 main slots by default. 8th slot can be unlocked by purchasing it with real money. Anything equipped on the main slot gives full stats. There are also sub-weapon slots. They are usually unlocked by leveling up the job. Stats gained from the sub-weapon are halved if a wrong type of weapon is equipped. This is the important difference between the main weapons and the sub-weapons. Some weapons may have an ability which only activates when equipped in the main slot. Keep these things in mind when equipping weapons. Now let's talk about the weapons in detail. The main purpose of a weapon is to provide us with base attack and magic attack stats. Most of the weapons also provide 200 of one element attack. A weapon may also provide a special ability. Weapons are divided into 2 categories: one-hand and two-hand. One-hand weapons occupy only one slot, and we can either equip a shield or another one-hand weapon in the second slot, if it is allowed. Two-hand weapons occupy both of the main slots. They usually have double the stats of one-hand weapons. Most jobs have a weapon type that they specialize in, and usually that weapon is also a requirement for using the skills of that job. Only this weapon type provides full stats when equipped in sub-weapon slots. There are 3 main ways to get a weapon: gacha shop, crafting, drop, or event. Let's understand more about each of these. From gacha shop, there are 2 noteworthy weapons. First one is the SP weapon. This weapon provides ability against specific boss only. Each boss has its own SP weapon series. The second one is the LR weapon. There are several different LR weapon series. This weapon provides high stats and also a special ability. It may also be an SP weapon for a boss. There is a very low chance to get one of these as a free-to-play player. As for the craftable weapons, there are 6 different series as of now. They can be further divided into 2 categories: common and unique. Common type weapons can be crafted as many times as possible, while the unique type has strict limits. Except for the Phantom and Akashic weapon, all of these can be made through the NPC Sumina, who can be found at the Enhancement Center. As for the Akashic weapon, it is made through the NPC Glack, who can also be found at the Enhancement Center. All of these series have different abilities. The materials of these weapons come from the dungeons or area bosses. Some of the materials can also be bought at the NPC Liz or Deck or Tower of Time. Lastly, there are 2 noteworthy drop weapon series: Spirit Wars, which is a limited time event, and the High Spirit area bosses. As of now, there is only Phoenix in the High Spirit series. These weapons focus more on the elemental attack. Next are the armors. They mainly provide base HP, defense, and magic defense. They also provide 50 element defense, but our focus should be on the abilities that they provide. There is only one way to get an ability armor, and that is from the gacha shop. This is why I recommend prioritizing armor over everything else from the gacha. Next are the accessories. Unlike weapons and armors, they don't necessarily provide base stats. Their main purpose is to provide an ability. They are obtained in 2 ways: either from the gacha or as a drop from the area bosses. Gacha ones are from the the traditional jewelry gacha, which comes every 2 months. Some drop accessories are good as well. So far, we have only seen what options we have. But before we get any of these, we should also understand that we must upgrade them too. Otherwise, we won't reach their full potential. For example, this gacha weapon. If I do not upgrade it, it is pretty much useless. There are 5 ways to upgrade an equipment: build up, limit break, core slots, awaken, and runes. Except for the runes, all of these are done from the gears menu from Yome. Let's take a look at each of these. First one is build up. It is pretty straightforward. We get materials from the enhanced dungeons or other stuff, and then use those to level up the equipment as shown. Using the materials which have same element as the equipment gives higher experience. Second is the limit break. This increases the max level of the gear. This can be done limited times only, and every time needs a copy of same weapon or a limit breaker item. Next are the core slots. Core slots need to be opened before we can put any cores in them. A slot is opened by using the drills. Slot type is random on most equipments, but there are some which have fixed slots. For example, spirit war weapons, they always have 2 green slots. There are 4 types of slots, and each one equips a different type of core. Both the drills and the cores are mainly obtained from the Tower of Time shop. Cores can be freely changed anytime. 2 cores of same level and type can be combined to create a 1 level higher core. 1 core will be lost if the process fails. Next is the Awaken, which is a unique upgrade to weapons. Usually, this is needed for the weapon to gain an ability. It also increases base stats. Max level and full limit break are necessary before we can awaken a weapon's ability. Last one are the runes. Runes can be obtained at the NPC deck at the Enhancement Center or some other shops. After obtaining them, we can put them on the equipments at the NPC Sumina. Weapon, armor, and accessory. Each of them use different type of rune. I will make a separate guide on this some other time. And here are some additional tips related to the equipment upgrades before we move on. These are based on my personal experience, so they may or may not be what other people follow. We are finally at the last section of this guide. Now, I will show you guys how to build a job using in combo DPS as an example. Let's get started. Before starting to build, it's important to understand the job. For example, I am using Chaos Excalibur here. This job scales on the base attack stats. So, I took attack ability on the Akashic. Another good choice is crit effect. I also took element attack because CX can be good elemental DPS as well. Generally speaking, for any combo DPS, subslots should be filled with weapons which give high attack stats and damage limit. Better if they have usable ability on sub as well. Main choice are Hestia and LR Gacha weapons. As you can see, I don't have them too, because they are expensive. We can just use the Ugia or Spirit War weapons. Moving on to the main slots. Since the release of Dash Earring, extra hit has become a necessity for DPS, and there are 2 main options for that: Dash Rune and Dash Earring. In my case, I am going to use Dash Rune. Both of them have a downside. To make up for it, we need to get either attack or damage factor from other equipments. So, I have set up my equipments like this. Recovering from negative stats is important, but we should not neglect other stats too. Having damage limit on the armor is also a must-have for DPS. Combo DPS should also have 100k attack stat. Important thing here is to balance the stats. Otherwise, we might get diminishing returns. Here are the final stats. I focused on the defense and evenly distributed the element defense using cores. This changes depending on the enemy. And here are some armor recommendations. I do not recommend any armors for the supports. Just use whatever the DPS uses. If you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. And don't forget to like, subscribe, and and share with your friends. See you next time.